Okay, we're very excited. It is audacious August, and we are finishing this super strong. We can now have unlimited access to the unlimited lip glosses, and I'm super crazy about them. We've got our hand washes we're super crazy about, limit of 5. There's just so many great things that are available. So Mary Kay just opened the floodgate for us to be able to stock up and get ready to make some money, finish our star by September the 15th. So very excited. And I'm going to turn it over to the master teacher, Gina Beck, in just a second. But I do want to give you a little heads up. Hurricane Laura was a beast. It was catastrophic, especially for Louisiana. And we have a lot of consultants, directors, a lot of people in Louisiana. So be praying for them. And I've been back and forth boxing with Randy, but I don't really know what we're going to set up. But be watching, because y'all, a lot of people, Randy said 125 of her consultants were affected. That's her whole loyalty family. So I know people said, what can we do? What can we do? Some people need a chainsaw. Some people need a generator. Some people just need love and support. But we'll keep in touch with that and let you know what's going on with that, with our Mary Kay family, because we are family. But this morning, we are excited to listen and learn from the amazing future National Sales Director, Gina Beck. And Gina is a teacher. She went to school. She's an educator. So it's really awesome that she is joining us this morning. And I'm also appreciate so much her Go Give spirit, because she is always so eager and welcoming to share what she's learning. And so she is a master organizer and prioritizer. She has 5 amazing kids. And when I say amazing, I'm not kidding. Her kids are amazing. I adore them. And to juggle 5 kids, run a successful top pink Cadillac unit, future national area. She's a future executive senior sales director. Her husband is now working from home, which has its benefits.
It's good now. It's great. We figured it out. Now I want him to stay.
But she did figure it out. She loves Strength Finders, and she's just going to pull all that together. So Gina Beck, thank you for who you are and being so generous with your time, your talent, and your treasure. We are ready and waiting to learn from you today.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you. Well, I have notes. I have a lot of notes, and I am going to follow along. So I don't like the fact that I'm not going to be looking in the screen the whole time, but I have so many thoughts to share. I had to organize them, or else I would be all over the place. The good news is this is being recorded. I talk fast, I move forward, so you can go back. In fact, I would highly recommend going back and catching some of the stuff, because sometimes, you listen to something and your mind starts going and then you miss the next thing. And every sentence in here is on purpose. So we are in Cindy Williams' final year. And you have heard her and will hear her all year saying, go for the bee, right? Go for the bee. The bumblebee is where it's at, and it is where it's at. We rock the core to sales stage. We're going to rock the core to sharing stage. Okay, so I am going to take that B goal to a whole nother level. Okay, so I want you to go for the B, as in BEE. But today we're talking about the B, just BE. Okay, and there is a phrase called be, do, have. Now, some of y'all have been trained by this before, but I'm just going down to the basics of everything. It's always good to hear it all again. So normally people operate, and normal doesn't mean good, common doesn't always mean good, on the opposite, which is have, do, be. Okay, so write that down. Be, do, have, do, be. Very opposite modes of thinking and living, okay? So the normal way, the everyday commoner way, is have. When I have a script that I love, then I'll say it, and then I'll be so successful. Or when I have a normal schedule again, when I have a normal schedule again, then I'll be peaceful, and then I'll have all the time I need, to move forward, or I'll be the successful person who knows how to juggle it all because I have my normal schedule. So everything on have, do, be rests on the have first, when in fact, it's the opposite. Okay, it's the be first. Okay, so that's going to be the whole theme of everything, be. So just to also go back, Cindy had sent out, and if you haven't seen it yet, don't worry, we'll send it out again or tell you where it is. But there was a seminar workbook that went out after virtual seminar. And if you opened it, just FYI, the first, I don't even know, 5, 6, 7 pages, who knows, are all kind of questions, things that we like taking notes basically. So it's all questions and blank pages. Get past that. Okay, once you scroll past all those pages, then it starts breaking down like an action plan. The first one is why, identify your why. Then it goes down to basically, it goes down to lots of doing things, right? Be, do, have, it's the doing, it's the scripts, it's the booking, it's the following up. So 1 page on why, lots of pages on do, okay? So keep that in perspective, because we're going to that 1 page and we're staying there. We're staying on the 1 page because the B is the foundation. You know, all of this stuff is essential. It's all essential, right? So knowledge is power. You hear that a lot. Actually, this is the one that I've learned over and over. It's not about knowledge, just knowledge. Knowledge in action is power. Knowledge in action is power. And as a very, actually as a red jacket, I think it was my very first seminar, actually. Yeah, because I had been in about 1.5 years at my first, or 1 year and 3 months at my first seminar. And I was in a red jacket class, very pregnant with Kyle. And I sat in the front row because that's who I am. And I had my notebook ready. And I felt bad because I wasn't writing anything down. And that's so funny because my includer gift was thinking from the perspective of the teacher. How does she feel to have someone in the front row not writing anything down? So it kind of made me feel bad that I wasn't writing anything down. But in the back of my head, I was like, I know this already. Why am I in this red jacket class? I could teach this class, right? And it was like, all of a sudden she slowed down, but she probably didn't. The heavens opened, the light shone down on her, and she said, it's not what you know, it's what you do with what you know. And I thought, okay, if you know all this, you better do some more. And then I came back the next year as a sales director. So knowledge in action is power, okay? So just like booking is the lifeline of our business. Yes, not thinking about booking. Okay, but here's the thing. When we know that action is where it's all at, what do? We go to seminar, we see all the glitz and the glamour, and then we're like, I gotta go do. I believe, right? And so we go straight to the do. But if the foundation is B, and we don't really set up and create a strong foundation, it can crumble, right? The building can crumble without that strong foundation of B. So have you ever watched a house going up being built? It's crazy. It's like so much digging, digging into the earth, digging, remember that, into the earth. Digging deep, getting all the yucky dirt out, right? And then, but it's like they do it forever in the pouring or whatever. But once that like foundation is like, there's a house, I mean, it's like everything goes into action. And so I feel like that with this. So what is B? Okay, so B, do, have. What is B? I think it's easy to go, well, be me, right? I just gotta be me. I love that. Actually, I have it hanging up right above my window right there. It says be beautiful, right? That's what we are. To be beautiful, you gotta be you. So I think it's easy to go, well, I got that. I know how to be me. Got that done. All right, on to the do. And then we start spinning our wheels with the do. Or you may think, okay, be. I'm gonna spend a little bit more time on that. I've gotta be courageous. I've got to be intentional. I have to be my personality. Okay, check. I'll do that. I'll do that. I'll do all those things. But here's the deal. It's more than that. It's more than just having the thought of, I'm going to be courageous. I'm going to be intentional. So B, B-E, actually stands for, let me just tell you, this is all in my head. This all has happened over the last few weeks, you guys. I mean, I've been like pulling all this stuff. Oh, so B is believe, envision. Believe, envision. Okay, so envision is more than just seeing the victories and getting excited about them. Okay, just again, we saw seminar. We see people rising to the top, overcoming obstacles. I see it, right? That feels like a vision. I see it. I can do it. I've got the vision. Check. Let's move on. It's more than that. Believe is more than, well, I see other people overcoming obstacles, so I believe I can overcome obstacles too. Is that essential? Yes. Totally, it's essential to have that thought, but it's more than that. And that's what we're gonna get into. So if it were as simple as just being me, right? Be courageous, be intentional, be disciplined, be focused. There's the little voice, and there's the reality that I am also, I can also be, oops, I can also be, mute Latoya there. There you go, thank you. Is to know that I can also be anxious. I can be pulled in many directions. I can be confused. I can be fearful of being in the same place again next year, even though last year I was just as excited after seminar, right? And so I am also all of those B's also. And so if that B is the foundation of my be, do, have, then my do is probably not going to look so hot, right? Or my do might not even get started.
Wow.
Because I haven't gotten past that B. Do y'all feel like I know what I need to do and I still haven't done it? Some of those people did that booking challenge when the technical happened and I didn't. I couldn't even do that. I didn't even do. There's a B foundational issue going on. All right, so that's what we're getting to. All right, so back to that seminar packet, or really you hear it all the time in Mary Kay. Find your why, find your why. Okay, so the question is your why, or is the word why a good word or a bad word? Okay, because we actually hear it both in Mary Kay. And a confused mind does nothing. So I'm gonna give you an example. The good use of the word why is it's the first step of reaching your dreams. That's why it's the first page of that packet. You gotta know your why, right? Because when it's clear, you're off and running. I've got my why, here I go. Okay, so that's a good why. Here's the bad why. We're actually taught, I teach this, avoid the word why. Have you ever heard this teaching? Why can't I pick up the phone? Why can't I get my act together? I'm asking the word why. Isn't that good? Because I gotta know the why. In that situation, not good. Okay, so and if you're like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to ask? In that situation, you replace the word why with how. How can I get myself to grab that phone? Right? How can I get my act together? Because your brain is going to want to solve those questions, right? And so, but that's just an example of a confused mind does nothing. Because really, when there's confusion inside, you're going to hear this a lot, right? When there's confusion inside, it's a confused mind does nothing. Okay, and we got to be crystal clear. So the thing is, both of those teachings are correct. All the teaching that you hear, Mary Kay, the what, find your why, good. Don't say why, good. It's all correct teaching, but we got to see it from a new lens. And you guys, I had this epiphany. I'm going to give you another example, and then I had an epiphany. Another example of a confusing message is about the word success. Okay, so one of the things that we hear a lot is focus. Follow one course until successful. Good teaching, very good. And when we hear it, we think, all right, geez, just stay focused. If you would just stay focused, Tina. Squirrel, squirrel, squirrel. If you would just focus, then you'd be successful. That must be why I'm not successful yet, because I'm highly distracted. Then we can point the finger, blame, whatever. Okay, but then you guys, I was flipping through my notes and I landed on one that I wrote down. And you know, when you write down a note, it's something that moves you, or else you wouldn't have written it down. Okay, so this statement moved me, and it said, yeah, it's like, again, the sunshine falls on this phrase. Success is not where you end up. It's how you get there. It's true, right? Don't we hear it. We hear it from our national. Enjoy the journey. The success is at the day-to-day activities. We have the present, right? The past is history. The future is a mystery. The gift is the present. This is where your success is. Okay, truth, but confusing. Is success later a destination, or is success now the path? Right? We're like, well, which one is it? So here it is. Both, okay? It's all of it. But this is where the clarity came for me. In both of those scenarios, one of them is results oriented and the other is action oriented. And early in my career, I remember learning, like, when you have Mary Kay time, you decide. And you don't have to decide for the rest of your life. You can decide for a season. You can decide for a week, whatever. Is your goal for that 20 minutes, for that hour, for that week, whatever? Is it results oriented or action oriented? Is it, I'm not going to stop calling till I get 2 bookings? Or is it, I'm going to make 20 calls and then I'm good?
Ooh.
Both are good. Go for 2 and I ain't going to stop till I'm there. Do 20. Because I know if I do 20 booking attempts, 10. Let's be real. Have you done 5 in a day? Okay, so like 5 booking attempts, day in, day out. Is that good? Yes. Okay, so action results. But if you think about those why examples, right? Why is the results? Why do I want to do this when the purpose is clear? But then the other question, why can't I pick up the phone? That was an action, right? And so those are both results, action kind of thoughts. That's why they sound conflicting. Success, focus until you get to success. That's the result. Success is how you get there. That's the action. Okay, so it's, oh, good, we need both. Okay, so here's the why. You get to the sheet, you're like, what's my why? You go, okay, well, what do you want? Well, I think sometimes we go, I want it all. Of course, duh. How hard is this question? I want the prizes. I want the recognition. I want my family to see that I finally did it. I want the income. I mean, so we're good with the why. Let's get doing. Right? And so our why is everywhere. It's all over the place. Okay. And then we wonder, why haven't I gotten there yet? Right? And then we go, oh, wait, I'm not supposed to ask the why question. How can I get there? Well, this is what today is. How can I? All of those whys to all over the place. Laser it in. We also have heard from our national, I am honoring Cindy in this because at 20 years I have been bread. Your food, where's the bread that I ate on? Was the story of the man, right? Whose daughter needed a body part. What was it? I don't remember what body part it was.
Kidney.
But the kidney, I was going to say that, but I wasn't sure. Okay, so needed a kidney. And his was the match, but he was overweight. And for his entire life, or for a long time, he had tried to lose weight and tried this and tried that and tried that, and none of them worked. But then when his daughter needed the kidney and his was the only one available, but the doctor said, you have to lose weight, he lost the weight. And we always hear the moral of the story was his why was clear, right? His why was clear. So we're going to get back to that because I think, again, we can think, well, you know, that's kind of life or death about family. And I think we all know that we could be that, I know I could be that person that lifted up the truck if it fell on my kid, right? You know, like how that adrenaline comes in. So is a bumblebee on my lapel life or death? So when it's like, there's that little kind of confusion, is it that important? Right? It's important. But in the day-to-day, when it doesn't feel as important as my daughter living, then it can get drowned out. But we're going to get back to the clear purpose. So we'll get back to him. Okay, so what if your why has been clear in the past? What if you did have a crystal clear why, but you still didn't get it? Or maybe your inner thoughts are, history is just going to repeat itself. I've done this, but I didn't get it before. Why are we doing this again? Okay, so I just read this quote recently. It's actually from a book. I'm going to quote this book quite often. And it's so funny because these are quotes. I haven't even opened the book yet, but I loved the quotes from this book so much that I ordered it on Amazon and it came yesterday. So I haven't cracked it, but I have enough good quotes from it that I can't wait to start reading it. So here's the quote and then I'll tell you the book. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. Okay, I got lipstick on my teeth. That's classic Gina. You're always allowed to tell me if I have lipstick on my teeth. Okay, you don't rise.
Say it again. You don't.
Yeah, you don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your system. Just in case, the book. Oh, it's backwards. Maybe backwards. Yes, that's okay. You can.
Oh, I just was reading about that. It's James Clear. That's the guy I've fallen in love with.
That. Let me just tell you guys, wave on wave. You sent that email, Cindy. It spoke to my heart. Right. So what do? I investigate. I'm a researcher. So I start clicking and clicking, finding. It has led, I love the rabbit trails, but now it's in my hand. I love it. So yes, that email that you sent was fantastic.
Atomic habit.
Okay, so, but here's the deal. Okay, well, let me just back up. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. So my brain goes straight to, okay, what are my systems? Because that's a word we hear in Mary Kay a lot, right? What are your systems? What's your follow-up system? What's your new consultant system? What's my team building system, right? Okay, and if you're new, this quote could make your stomach turn like, oh, I have to create all these systems to fall back on in order to be successful. No, this is not a call about systems, and those aren't the systems we're talking about. If you're seasoned, you could hear that quote and go, Lord have mercy, my systems have been in place for a decade, right? That was me. I'm like, come on, what other systems do I need? I am like the systems queen, right? And so I don't rise to the level of my goals, I fall to the level of my systems. Okay, but I have also learned, lean in. When something goes inside of you, when you hear a quote, when someone says something to you, you lean in, right? That's my new thing. I don't go, I don't like that, so goodbye. I go, there's something more there. So I leaned in and I thought, what's my system of being, not doing? What's the system of being, not doing? Because every time we talk about systems, it's in the do category, not in how do I be? And that is a system, you guys. That is a skill. And that's why this talk is so important. Okay, so we hear a lot in Mary Kay also. I'm going back to the things you hear a lot because we need to filter these things. We need to filter them because they're all over the place. Just ask a successful person, right? But when you ask them, don't ask them what they did, which would be in the do category. Ask them what they were thinking, okay? So I'm being real. I've heard it forever. 20 years in Mary Kay feels like forever, right? So as far as the training, right? So I'm like, is there anything new under the sun? I've heard this, right? I've had those thoughts before. The people at the top, I think like that, don't I? I do think those thoughts, right? So then it got a little deeper. And then we started hearing, well, those successful people who said, I made a decision, you know, that thought that I had became a decision. And it's like, well, I've made that decision before. And then they started going a little bit deeper and said, well, I made that decision every day. You don't make that decision on Saturday night when you watch seminar and then go back to life. They remade the decision every day. At least that's what I used to tell myself, that they remade the decision. But now we're going deeper because new epiphany, they didn't remake the decision. And this is where it's about to get real. And y'all just be open. I just pray that you guys be open to this. And maybe you have to watch it over and over again. But think about what re-deciding implies. It means you decided something, and then you went another way, and then you had to go back to that decision. And a confused mind does nothing. Did you decide it, change your mind at night, and then decide again in the morning? Or are you the opposite? In the morning you run around like crazy, at night you get inspired, and in the morning you forgot again, right? And so it's not that they re-decided every day. Okay, back to the man who wanted to lose weight. Did he oscillate? No. He knew in his being, it was his kidney, he was losing weight, she was living. It wasn't an oscillation of belief. It wasn't an oscillation of did he have to wake up every morning and re-decide, reconvince himself that that was going to happen? That was the difference. It was a knowing, okay, unwavering belief and envision. Unwavering. So there was a book that I read at the beginning of my Mary Kay career. And the reason I grabbed it was because Mary Kay referenced it. I think in her autobiography, somewhere Mary Kay said, there's a book by Claude Bristol called The Magic of Believing. Okay, so I'm going to show you the picture so you can find it on Audible or Amazon or whatever. But I'm just going to grab some phrases from you because I can't teach on the book, and Lord, do I want to. But there's a lot of richness in there, and I can't teach the whole book. An hour is not enough. So, but I want to say I read it at the beginning. I read it in the middle of my 20-year journey, and I just now read it and listened to it on Audible again at the same time. Okay, so, and every time you go back, it's different ears and different lens that you look through. So, but here are just some phrases. The knowing inside of you. The knowing, when I know inside of me. Different than oscillating belief. Fixed idea. All-consuming desire. Thoughts and aims coordinated. Energy concentrated and applied. These are just a few phrases in like the first chapter, okay? And I'm like, holy moly. So this, let me screen share really quick. So the magic of believing, just so y'all can see, there is, let's see. This is the one that I found on, is that Audible? I don't know which one that is. Anyway, there's his original book, Magic of Believing. He had a book before that, and it was called TNT, It Rocks the Earth. Okay, so there is a lot of Magic of Believings by Claude Bristol on Audible, but I grabbed the one TNT, It Rocks the Earth also at the end, and it's good. And it's a little bit more basic and short than the Magic of Believing. I'm not saying skip to it, but anyway, for the same price, you get both the books. So I would get the one that has both the books if you're doing Audible. And then this is on Amazon. So I found it on Amazon. That cover looks different than my cover. I'll show my cover in a second, but I've had this book for a long, long, long time. But that's the one, only $9. I mean, are you kidding? Crazy. Okay, so that was the book by itself. But then I saw there is a book that also, just for a few dollars more, includes TNT, It Rocks the Earth. So I think, why not? Why not get two books at the same time? So, okay, so that was the book. My cover looks like this. You know, covers change all through the years. Yeah, it is underlined, it is dog-eared, it is highlighted, different color pens, I mean, all over the place. Okay, but here's the deal, you guys, about this book. This ain't like any other book, okay? It was written in 1948. Let that sink in. Pre-civil rights, pre-women's movement. I mean, when you read it, you're like, wow. So this is what I want. If you choose to listen or read, you almost have to time warp and go, this is pre all the stuff that we've known and discovered for the last 70 years. So one, oh my gosh, there's a truth that doesn't change, but this is the lens I saw it through this time, and it was amazing. Mary Kay was moved by this book. Mm-hmm. It was written and read by her before she started a worldwide company with 8 people. When you read this book through her eyes, it is like, oh, like empowering. I mean, I have such a deep gratitude. In fact, he has, I think it's 1 or 2 chapters on women. Like, talk about being forward thinking. He's like, basically, you guys, women, when they put the power of believing into action, he literally says they could change the world. Can you imagine Mary Kay reading this? I'm like, whew. And I'll just tell you, he gives lots of examples, lots. So something, I mean, it depends. Just skim through if he's getting a little bit too detailed for you. But this is what I'm gonna tell you. He is science and scripture. And I love when science and scripture come together. He doesn't quote scripture all throughout it, but you know what is interesting? One of the verses that I have that I'm gonna share with you guys, the other day, I'm like, holy moly, the very beginning, he has that scripture verse right at the very top. At the very first page, on the page that you don't look at, the years and all that of publication. So, but he is a very learned man who is, anyway, it's fantastic. I love stuff that's researched, that's coming from my lens. I'm like, if it's researched, this is legit stuff. So we're gonna get back to that. But this is one of the things that is a big deal. You ready? Ready. Our thoughts, okay, we get thoughts in our head, don't they kind of seem like they're just kind of random, like in the air? Like, where do these thoughts, where do they come from? They're just kind of like this mystical kind of thing. Thought waves. I want you to picture thought waves, like radio waves. I want you to comprehend. There's so many things that we take for granted, but think about radio. Okay, back in 1948, that's all he had. He didn't have this stuff going on. A radio wave. Some building somewhere with an antenna can put out a radio wave that goes through the metal of a car, goes through the brick of a wall, and you're listening to it, right? It's kind of crazy to think about. I've always been fascinated by the telephone, not the cell phones. In fact, you know what fascinates me more than the cell phone and the satellite, you know, bouncing into space and coming back simultaneously? Or really, my science brain goes, that's amazing. I can talk to you on the other side of the nation, same time, because that signal went to the space. Seriously, people, it went to space on a satellite, bounced back, but we're talking like we're face to face. I mean, that's pretty amazing, right? Okay, so we've got radio waves. Now, fast forward 2020, we have video stuff going on. But I mean, really think about what is happening. I'm in my room. It's somehow transmitting to a device, transmitting out and coming into your living room same time. Okay, so these are inventions by man. These are inventions by man. What do you think about what God created? Do you think that maybe God, the ultimate creator, can create thought waves to penetrate brick walls? For thought waves to go into someone else's thoughts and they start behaving differently? Cindy knows what I'm talking about now. Right? When we think a thought, it actually is a physical thing. And this may be mind-blowing to you guys, but it is actually science now. A thought wave is not a random thing that stays in here. A thought wave is actually a physical thing, just like a radio wave that you cannot see, just like a sound wave that you cannot see. And sound waves can be like this, and sound waves can be like that. And our thought waves can be like that, easily disrupted by another wave that's bigger. Or our thought waves can be like, oh, you little disruption wave, you ain't messing with me, right? Okay, so I'm gonna share a little fun with you because in 2020, 70 years after this book is written, and honestly, you guys, what he writes about in this book is centuries old. I'm gonna share a quote with you from like 100 AD. It's centuries old. People have known this forever and ever. Have you embraced it? Have you actually opened your mind to embrace? I'm just gonna say, he gets into telepathy, which some people go, ew, that's the weirdo stuff. That's what I'm talking about right now. Thought waves. You know it to be true though. They are physical things, and you're gonna know when I show you something. Oh, I love this next screen. Okay. Anyone ever seen the movie Inside Out? If you don't have little kids, I knew Cindy had it. Okay, Cindy, get this movie. For those of us who have kids, it's not, have you seen Inside Out? The question is, how many times have you watched Inside Out? This is a fantastic movie. So just a little background. Yes, and guess what her name is?
What?
Joy.
Oh, I love her.
I know, her name is Joy. Okay, so these 5 characters represent the emotions in our subconscious. Okay, so we've got joy. Here, can you see my mouse? So we've got joy. We have disgust. Disgust. We have sadness. We have anger and fear, right? Okay, so but these emotions live in our subconscious. And this is what I want to share with you. There is a Dr. Caroline Leaf. She studies and writes and does TED Talks. Her books are very sciencey, so watch the TED Talk if you can't handle a lot of science. But the science of the brain and these emotions, literally emotions have molecules. They call them the molecules of emotion. Space, you guys, molecules, cells, truth, living things, not randomness, right? So if emotions really, and Dr. Caroline Leaf is Christian, you guys. It's amazing. I love Christian smart scientists. I love them because it is all interconnected. So if our emotions are literally can have molecules of emotions, right? Our thoughts, physical waves also. Okay, and so we know, oh, let me just show you 2 more pictures because I'm gonna forget about these other 2, but I love them so much. Okay, so this is a scene of the movie where they're operating what the girl, the character of the girl, and that they're in her brain. But see all those little balls in the background, right? They literally are physical memories. They're physical things in the movie. And when you watch it, you laugh. You're like, oh my gosh, that's totally how I think. That's totally how life happens. And I thought, you know what? I wonder if the people who wrote Inside Out read the book by Dr. Leaf, or read any kind of like science brain history or, you know, whatever, reading stuff, and just said, we got to make a movie about this because this is true stuff. And then this little picture right here, when Joy and Sad, when they figure it out, you guys, we figure it out forward to success. And this is a movie of them figuring it out forward to success. It's amazing. Think about this movie. When you watch it, think of it through that lens, figuring it out forward to success. I want you to look at your belief thoughts, because that's where we're going to go right here. Your belief thoughts, just like this little ball. Just like this little ball, and they look at it and they're like, oh my gosh, that's the way I want you to look at your belief thoughts. Okay, so, but we don't want disruptions in our thought waves. If I have a belief and I have a thought and I send it into the universe, that sounds sciencey and non-Christian, but it isn't. Okay, so you send it out. I don't want disruptions to those. And so we here in Mary Kay don't share an 8x10 goal with a 3x5 mind, right? That's why. That's why. Because, well, actually that's not totally right. Because I guess if you're 8x10 goal and a 3x5, but can it cause a little disruption? We know what disruption looks like on the Zoom. We know what disruption sounds like on a phone. And so I'm like, I don't want a disruption. And you can start not just with things like earning a bumblebee. This is true for all things in life, okay? Practice with the little things, okay? Cindy Williams, perfect example. Not only will you see Mary Kay Ash throughout this book, you will see our Cindy Williams. And honestly, I saw me, because I do have belief is one of my inner top 5 strengths. We're going to get to strengths actually like very soon. Okay. But nothing but great things happen to me, right? She says that, you know. And so I remember being in New Jersey when we visited Laura Morgan, and we were driving somewhere, and Laura is like, oh my gosh, we just got a parking spot right next to the subway. That never happens. And Cindy was like, nothing but great things happen to me. Of course, that's the way it always is. You know, and people can laugh that off, but I feel like Mary, like she tucks all these things in her heart, right? So I have tucked it in my heart. I'm like, that's an easy one to embrace. You know, and so that, you guys, that's a thought wave sending out, I'll meet her. Just like when Cindy said, when people say, your reality, people say no to you, and you're like, no, they don't. It's true. It's true, because we believe. I connected with that person. I grew in that situation. That is my belief. That's what I see. Carry on. It's an amazing way to live, you guys. Okay, but you can practice with the little things. But this is when I realized, you know, I've done it with little kids in the car. Like, you guys, when we get to the store, this is the way it's going to be. What is that anything other than a thought and an envision? Is that a belief and an envision in action? That's like painting a picture for the little kids, right? So I'm like, this is the way it's going to be. Well, I just said little kids because I got 5. And so we got to notice there's a difference. If I'm like that, the little kids are like, and it happens. Whether it's something like the parking spot or whatever, right? I mean, I keep talking about parking spots, but I'm telling you everything. But the big kids can be like, Mom, please, right? So that's a disruption in the thought wave. So you can choose whether or not, just be aware. Do I want this belief? Because if I don't want a disruption, maybe I just keep it in my head and carry on. And there are people, have you heard people who say, I didn't tell a soul, right? I think that's part of Tracy Chavez's story. She's like, I didn't want to hear blah, 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 blah. I just carried on. Or people who earned the car and no one knew and then they celebrated later. You know, their belief was in action. So it's just powerful stuff. Okay. The other thing is we are molded by the thoughts. Okay, remember the repetition, the not oscillating back and forth. So if it's a crystal clear, always, 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 this is my belief, this is my thought, okay? Think about the bombardment. That's you bombarding with good things. Are you watching the news? I'm telling you right now, they're bombarding you. And you choose what you're bombarded by. You choose what you're bombarded by in the news. You choose what you're bombarded by with your thoughts, okay? And so I want my belief thoughts to be strong. I want the doing. Think about this. If we know the doing, you have to do over and over to get good, right? I got to keep booking to get good at it. Well, guess what? Being this way, belief and envision, it ain't a one-time thing. You got to get good at it all day. Notice, okay? BE, it's the foundation. If you know you got to do over and over to get good and good and good and master it, then get good and good and good and mastering at being using this stuff. So there is an evolution of changing a habit. And I've done trainings on those before. I'll try to get it quick. But basically, you don't know you're doing it. Then you did it again and you just, oh my gosh, I did it again. And then the third step is you're in the middle of doing it. And you're like, daggone it, I'm doing it right now. And then the fourth step is you literally are like in the middle of doing it and you realize it and you stop, or you're about to and then you stop. And then the fifth step is you don't even do it anymore. Okay, but we got to give grace on that journey. So it's not, you don't jump from 1 to 5 and all of a sudden my belief life has changed. So you get good at identifying the thoughts. And so you can change it immediately. So if I catch myself in a thought like, seriously, Gina, you're going to dream big, because what's going to make that any different than next year where you're not that much closer? Okay, so I go, whoop, capture the thought. Here's a little tip. Just put the word I believe, or the words, the phrase, in front. Okay, and there's a whole nother training session on that by Heidi Gelzer called Limiting Beliefs, right? So watch that. But there's an easy trick. So what do you believe? And so I can replace that thought with what I believe, and now I just created a different thought wave in the moment. Here's the other thing. We want evidence. Here we're stretching into strengths. We want evidence. Okay, because a lot of times the belief is it's something down the road, right? Maybe it's the car in your driveway or the bumblebee walking across the stage on the court of sharing. And it's far away, somewhat far away, but we want evidence. We want evidence right now. So again, let's back it up. There's results and there's action, okay? And so we've been talking about results with a crystal clear vision. Crystal clear, over and over and over. I imagine, you guys, Cindy Williams is our example. Grab the toothbrush every day, over and over, morning and night. What do you think that was? It was subconscious. The drip, drip, drip. It was the river creating the Grand Canyon, over and over and over and over. I'm not kidding, and over again. It has to be that. But it was a vision. It was crystal clear, okay? But that's a result. Okay, so it's not randomly at your weekly meetings and that's the only time you hear about it. Your subconscious is going to get to work on what it hears and sees consistently. So that's the result, work. The action side, how am I going to get there? Because if you have a crystal clear vision of the result, but you don't have a crystal clear vision of the how, and then that little voice says, okay, well, my crystal clear vision is good, but what's any different in my day-to-day life, right? Then we have a confused mind. So we got to work on the belief of how. And here's the good news. It's already inside of you. We hear that too. All you need is already inside of you. You guys, it's your strengths. It's your God-given strengths. It's not the script. The script comes when you're working in your strengths and you're passionate because you believe that your strengths are the strategy. When you believe, knowing, I know my strengths are my strategy. And guess what? We fall to the level of our systems. And if our systems are working our strengths, we can be us, be me. And the being happens, okay? So my unique system and my unique arrangement of strengths, that is working the bee. Okay, so I put it out there to take your strengths test at gallup.com. If you're watching this and you haven't taken it, keep listening because it'll prep you for when you do take it and see your results. And then you can just come back and watch this video. So we're going to roll along, but actually I'm going to show you. Don't worry, I'll give you the details in a second. But if you already took it and you saw your 5 top strengths, okay, top 5 strengths, here are some emotions, here's some questions that you might have already battled. I don't like that one. What the heck is that doing in my top 5? Or missing one, like, oh, I thought I would be blah, 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 and it's not there. I'm so sad, right? I will tell you, the first time I took the strengths test, I think it was 2016 or 17 when this started kind of really being talked about. I took it, I looked at the 5 and I put it away. I didn't even read the reports. I'm like, I don't like it. I'll just tell you, I didn't like my number 1. I didn't like my number 1. My number 1 is learner. I want to be a national sales director. And I looked at learner and I thought, okay, being a nerd is not going to get me to national. Done. Why am I doing these strengths? What are they all so excited about? Seriously, like, I'm done. And then, people keep talking. And when something goes, what do? You lean in. You lean in and you go, there's something else there that I'm not catching because there's some really smart, successful people who keep talking about this, including Susan Moore. Thank you, Susan Moore. Okay, so I'm going to get to the test in a second. So here's some other thoughts that would happen. You look at a word and you go, huh? Know that the words are not their dictionary definition. For example, one of them in my top 10, and I'll talk about 10 later, is consistency. And I saw that one and I laughed. I'm like, consistency? I am squirrel. I'm like, I'm all over the place. Yeah, right. That's not one of mine. Okay. So, but it's not the dictionary definition. Okay. Because you think, oh, consistency, that means my strength is that I'm consistent. Here's a very brief definition. Being keenly aware of the need to treat people the same. That's the definition. So I'm like, okay, this is getting a little bit deeper. Okay, here's another thing you need to know about this test. It ain't like at the back of a Cosmopolitan quiz, okay? It's not just for entertainment and fun. The research organization has been around 30 years, you guys, 30 years. Lots of testing. All humankind not just Americans, because everyone knows culture plays a part. This is all humans, okay? The test, whether you had it on a bad day or you took it 2 years ago before a very traumatic experience in your life, results the same. You may have in your top 10, there may be some that maybe shift from 3 to 5, but your 10 stay, okay? They're pretty much once you hit adulthood, which is around low 20s, you are formed, right? That's when the brain, just so you know, those who have college students, their brains are still forming, right? But around 22, 23, it's going to be the same. And this is the crazy thing about this test, you guys. Even if when you take it and you're choosing side to side and it's timed, you got to choose fast. Their research is so intense that if you miss it and don't answer, people think, oh man, I just screwed up the test. Maybe this isn't my top 10. They actually factor in, if she didn't or he didn't answer it, this must mean blah, blah, blah. Like that's part of their analysis. This is the one that tripped her up. Crazy. Okay. The other thing is when you start talking about this and seeing, some people will have some of the same ones. Like a lot of Meet My Leaders, we have a lot of the same ones in the top 5 or 10. That does not mean we are the same by any stretch of the imagination, because where it places 1 through 5 makes you a totally unique. In fact, all the arrangements of what it could be 1 through 5, it's over 33 million arrangements. So crazy, it's crazy. So I'm going to show you some things, but I'm going to give you a little example. So I have learner in my top 1. 2 of my offspring sales directors also have learner in their top 5. Well, we thought we were the same until we started going deeper. There is a guide in your report. I'm going to show you just a second. So detail people, hold tight. It's called the Strengths Insights Guide. Now this, I did not completely understand actually the hugeness of this report until really like in the last few weeks. I wasn't reading it the right way. This one is literally personalized to you based on all the other strengths that you have, 1 to 34. There's 34 of them. So how I live out learner as my strength and my strategy in life is different than Amy and Laura. And I'll show you an example. Amy has learner. She also has relator and context in her top 5. So her description of learner in her insights guide talks about learning through people, relator, and through history, context, and how much she likes to read and look at things of the past, okay? Laura also has learner, but in her top 5 is also relator and empathy. And in her description of learner, it talks about gathering information from people, gathering information from discussions and classes. I'm like, what the world? Like when we read these descriptions side by side, guess what mine is? Research, the most rigorous classes that challenge you, because guess what else is in mine? Achiever, right? And so my learner is filtered through achiever and all the other things. That guide, if you haven't gone to the guide, I'm going to show you my little screen share. Okay, so here we go. First, we're going to see joy and sadness again. All right, so gallup.com, when you go to that website, at the top, there's a tab, Services and Solutions. Then when you open that tab on the left, click Clifton Strengths Assessment, and it's only 20 to get your top 5. We'll talk about more later, but that's the best 20, you guys. Skip a dinner. Don't go out to eat. Skip coffee 4 times. Seriously, do it. Okay, so I also recommend getting the app. Okay, so the app on your phone, I didn't write this down, is called Gallup Access. Okay, so if you already took the test, you can log in with the same email. You guys, this app opened up everything. Can y'all see my mouse when I move it?
Yes.
Okay, so when I open the app, there's always an article at the top. Scroll down and it'll show your Clifton tops, your strengths, your top 5. Okay, so over these arrows mean something. So you can click on it and there's a short little description, but then there's a video and a document that shares a little bit more about it. So that's how just kind of baby steps of learning what are these top 5, okay? Also, at the bottom, let's see, this tab is all about you at the very bottom menu. This tab is called the Community tab. You can share with other people. I would recommend sharing with your director. It just asks for their email. Say, share my reports with my director. And then honestly, anyone who has a team member, we should all be sharing. Anyone that you work with, share, because you can read those people's insights guide. It's not just, oh, I know what your top 5 are. So I just met with Amy yesterday and I was like, all right, before we do anything, let's just read your insights. And she could read it on her phone and I can read it on mine. And it was eye-opening. It was so, so good. Okay, the other thing is view your full report. Okay, that's where you want to click. And then you can scroll down. Here's all these reports, but right here, the Strengths Insights Guide. That's the one that gives, look at what it even says. It's so funny that I missed this for a whole year. Your personalized strengths insights. So it actually, this is the personalized description of how you do, or how I do, activator in relation to all my other things. Okay. So this is eye-opening. And again, this is just kind of baby walking through. I'll show you one more thing. And it gets deeper, and it's not time to get too deeper, but you can open up your 10. And if you have the funds, I would recommend actually opening the 10 or make the funds and go sell a dang miracle set, right? Because when I was just on my 5, it didn't feel like the whole picture. Remember that feeling of I feel like something's missing? It was called positivity. It was called responsibility. I mean, there was a lot of things that opened up, and all of a sudden I'm like, oh, now it's making sense. So the Clifton Strengths Gallup people who are trained, they look at the top 10 and it gives a bigger picture, especially if you're going to be using this for your business and dreams for your life. It definitely changes things. Okay, I can't get into all those details, but the other thing is another thought that we have, and this is what I want to tell you not to have. I can see all these colors because I opened up all 34, but the colors kind of have a theme to them. So strategic, influencing others, executing, like din, getting it done, and then relationship building. Okay, and so we can kind of see in my top 5, learners number 1, that's strategic. Activator is influencing. Achiever is purple, executing. Okay, and then I've got blue for relationship building. That's my includer. So at first I was like, yay, I'm so happy. Look at me all balanced up there at the top. I'm just telling you, you got to fall in love with them, because Corby had the opposite. I can't remember what, but she had something missing. There was a color missing. And so what she interpreted that to mean was, well, I guess I don't have blankety blank. Okay. And so this is not about what you don't have. Okay. I already stopped the screen, but it doesn't matter. At the bottom of my 34, you guys, at the bottom, there is a lot of red. And red is strategic. Now that made me go, what? Right? Lean in. Because people come to me for strategy. What? They come to me for strategy. I'm like, how is it that on this test, strategic is apparently part of my weaknesses? Okay, it's not a weakness. This is the difference. 2 things. The talents at the top are natural. They come fast, they come easy. It's what we naturally do. You guys, it's so natural that we don't even realize that we're working in a strength. So start paying attention, because when I realized that people don't process in their brain the learning stuff like I do, all of a sudden I went, oh, Grace. Here's another example. Doing the Zoom tonight for Mary's debut and Cindy's speech for number 1. So on the director call on Wednesday, it was towards the end, and the whole time I was like, first of all, I don't understand why we haven't all been watching this together, because we would have been at seminar together. Why are we not all Zooming? But then we got a second chance, right, for tonight to watch it together. And so I'm thinking this thought, and I'm like, Gina, that's includer. It's so natural for you to have this thought. And in the past, Gina would go, why isn't everyone else thinking about this? And it kind of became like, right? So have you ever had that thought like, well, geez, why didn't you think of that? Or why weren't you acting like that? You know, because that is actually one of my strengths, was includer. So then rather than dismissing the thought, because don't we all dismiss thoughts and go, well, everyone else isn't saying it, so maybe I shouldn't, right? So I speak it up, I say it, right? And then so then it happens. So we're all gonna be Zooming together tonight. I hope you Zoom tonight to watch Mary's debut and Cindy's number 1 speech. Okay, so, but then someone complimented me. Do you know how amazing you are? And I had to turn it back. I had to give it to God. That's not me being amazing. That's God's gift that I recognized and I invested in, okay? And then it blesses others, because the whole idea of this is to influence, help, grow others. It's not a test that focuses on me. It's when I use my gifts and invest them, yes, the God-given gifts, then they invest and they bless the world, you guys. And then who doesn't want to do that? Because it's not all about us at all. Okay, think about the Nationals. If you really like, this has been going on around you all the time. They go, just be you. Well, how did Cindy get to Inner Circle, and how did Lisa Madsen get to Inner Circle? Cindy is woo, positivity, right? Joy all around. Lisa Madsen is strategy. Boom, ba-doom, ba-doom. Here's the numbers. Here's the strategy, right? They worked in their strengths, same result, same end of achieving the goal and the dream, different how, different be, using their God-given strengths. And so Matthew 25:14, right? It says it. I tried, okay, I did. Matthew 25:14. Well, I'm not going to read it all. It's the parable of the talents, okay? You know, that when you invest in your strengths, right, then God said, thank you. You multiplied it. You multiply it. So they're not natural to everyone. The things at the bottom, it's not about what you don't have. The other side to that coin is we are all relationships. We are all strategic. We are all influential. And we all get things done, right? But what happens is I may use my relationship and my, what's the other one? I can't think. Anyway, two of the ones that I have a lot of in my top 10 to strategically work, right? Cindy uses her woo as a strategy, okay? So just because you might not see a color doesn't mean I'm not that. You invest in your strengths and we all become influential leaders, making things happen. Okay, so belief and envision, that's where we're at. That's the foundation. It only works to the extent that the followers believe. Kind of like that disruption of the wave, right? So if it's oscillating, I believe, I don't believe, or I believe, and there's lots of interference with that wave with others, it's only going to work to the extent that the followers believe. Think about this. How many times have you said, I knew that would happen? Do you think that's just belief at work? You believed so much that it was a knowing. I knew it would happen that way. And so you created belief thought waves, and then it happened. And that can happen for the good, and that can happen for the bad. Right. Cody, my fourth son, has a major heart defect, went through major heart surgeries. After his third heart surgery, he had so many complications, it was insane. I lived in the hospital with him for 4 months while I was pregnant with Cindy. With Cindy, I'm looking at Cindy. With Sydney, my fifth is Sydney. And so when this major complication happened, they just couldn't figure it out. Like, I mean, they were calling people at all the other pediatric cardiology units across the nation. And they're like, what are we going to do? So they're like, well, there is this medicine we can put him on. And it's a steroid. And he'd have to be on it the rest of his life. And I'm like, no. I don't want that. I don't want my son, my boy, to be on a steroid the rest of his life. And I'm like, what are the other options? And they're like, well, there's a cath that we can do. It's really like complicated and very, very dangerous. And then there's open heart surgery. I'm like, just get it done, do open heart surgery. And they're like, well, Gina, it doesn't quite work that way. That's kind of like, you know, dangerous. We do them a lot, but you just because he's had 3 doesn't mean like it's just every day. Let's just do it again. Anyway, I'm kind of making a long story out of it. So the months happened because they tried to do the medicine first. It didn't fix the result, but because he was on it now, it is stay on it. Okay, not happy about that. Then they tried the cath, very scary. That didn't fix the problem. Then they ended up doing the open heart surgery anyway, but now he's still on the medicine. I knew in my gut, not a belief that I was trying to make right. I was going, I believe, but I'm kind of scared. I just knew he would not be on a steroid for his whole life. End of the story is he's not. My belief waves, I don't know how, I wasn't trying to intentionally influence the doctor, but it's funny because he's the one who eventually weaned him off of it. And still to this day at the annual checkups, the same doctor goes, I don't know how he's off. There's no other kid who's off this medicine who got on it. I don't understand, you know? And I'm like, dude, I knew, but when I read this, I'm like, you guys, that's the power of belief. But this is what I'm gonna tell you. I'm not playing God. I am not saying that we are God and that we can control all the happenings, because I am very aware, and I'm not exaggerating, painfully aware. I mean, I was in 2 different hospital rooms saying goodbye to little babies, you know, of my friends. Okay, so I'm very aware that there is more at play. And so if that is part of your story, whether it's a baby or, you know, like I believed and God didn't answer that prayer. It's deeper. I can't get into that because obviously, but belief very much interwoven with trust and faith. And it is possible to believe something and have a different result and still be okay with believing all the way through with trust and faith. It's totally possible to do that. And then it is. There is a newspaper that comes once a month, and it's through our church and whatever. So through the diocese, and there's a section, and it's like the opinion section that people write in or whatever. And the title of it, it's always moved me, and it's called Believe as You Pray. And the first time I saw that, I was like, well, that's kind of funny. And I'm like, lean in. Believe as you pray. Are there people who pray and don't believe? Yeah. It's possible to pray for something and not believe what you're praying for.
Wow.
It's possible to pray and hope he takes care of it, but you're still going, I don't think it's going to happen.
Wow.
It's on you, God, but I don't believe. We got to play our part, you guys. That's our job. That is our job, is to believe. Okay, so now I am going to read some scripture to you. Okay, so Mark 9:22 through 24. This is when the man comes to him about his son throwing fits, with the convulsions and all that. He says, often it throws him into fire and into water. You would think it would kill him. If out of the kindness of your heart you can do anything to help us, please do. Jesus said, if you can, everything is possible to a man who trusts. That's huge. He didn't say everything is possible. He said everything is possible to a man who trusts. That's a big little extra 3 lines right there. Okay, then this is another one about sharing your 8x10 goal and all that kind of stuff and the disruption of the wave. Mark 5:35 through 40. He had not finished speaking when people from the official's house arrived, saying, your daughter is dead. Why bother the teacher further? Jesus disregarded the report that had been brought and said to the official, fear is useless. What is needed is trust. There's that word again. He would not permit anyone to follow him except Peter, James, and James's brother John. As they approached the house of the synagogue leader, Jesus was struck by the noise of people wailing and crying loudly on all sides. He entered and said to them, why do you make this din with your wailing? The child is not dead. She is asleep. At this, they began to ridicule him. Then he put them all out. You guys, he said, ridiculers, you're messing with my belief waves. Out. That is huge, you guys. That is huge. And it's so big, it shows up again. It's all in Mark, you guys. Just hang out in Mark for a little while. Okay, so Mark 6:5, just a little bit later, it's talking about him going to another place. He goes to another town. And it says, he could work no miracle there. Let that sink in for a second. Is Jesus able to work miracles? Yes. He could work no miracle there, apart from curing a few who were sick by laying hands on them. So much did their lack of faith distress him. You guys, they were not believing in him. They were sending out the signal, I don't believe in this guy. And he's like, I'm going to do it here, right? That is intense stuff, you guys. So the magic of believing, we're wrapping it up. So I've been in this magic of believing. It all intertwines, you guys. I mean, like my books are everywhere, right? So then on seminar, it's been reposted, Thea Elvin, she's talking and she says, did you know that the word abracadabra has meaning? And I'm like, bing, what? And she says, it means I will create as I speak. And then she goes on and I'm like, hold up, stop the bus. So learner Gina starts researching, you guys, it's Aramaic. Aramaic, the language that Jesus spoke. It's Avra, A-V-R-A, ka with a K, kadabra. Avra, kadabra in Aramaic. I will create as I speak. You guys, God spoke the world into existence. It was words. Think about it. What are words? What are words? I mean, they're air, just like thoughts, right? They're thoughts with letters attached to them. God spoke into the existence. So then where do I go? I go to the Bible again. Let's find Genesis. I'm wrapping up, I promise you guys. This Bible, the John Maxwell Leadership Bible. I don't know if you can still find it. You can search.
Yeah.
Okay, so I go to Genesis where he spoke the world into existence. On the 6th day was when he created man and woman. His first commandment is be fruitful and multiply. Y'all, that's the first thing he told man to do. Be fruitful and multiply. There's that word again. Be fruitful and multiply. Go do. Okay, So, but the John Maxwell Leadership Bible kind of filters it through a leadership lens. So it says, born to lead, and his reflection on this part of Genesis, he has the first three like thoughts, which totally go along with everything. But then thought 4 and 5 by John Maxwell, leadership guru. All of us are to serve one another in the areas of our gifting and purpose. That was his point number 4. God created everything for a purpose. Think you when you hear that. God created everything for a purpose. Our general purpose is to lead, but each of us should ask God, Lord, what's my specific purpose? And then his 5th point, each person's leadership is best exercised in his or her area of giftedness. That is the strengths and talents. When we discover our gifts, we will naturally lead in those areas where we are most productive, intuitive. It's natural to you. You do it so much you don't even realize it. Start paying attention to what you do and how you think. Comfortable, influential, and satisfied. Oh my gosh. Okay, so
that was awesome.
We have to use the gifts that we are given. Okay, so I want to close with a few quotes. So James Clear, in the book I haven't read yet. Okay, I just saw the quote, you would love Enneagram. I don't. I mean, it's fun and it's entertaining, but it doesn't, I don't love it. I'm not saying it's bad, kind of like everything else. It ain't bad, but it's kind of almost more fun. And I do have fun. Y'all know I have fun. I'm like, I mean, I have fun. You just follow me. I dance, I sing, I am a fun person. But when it's about God's purpose for me, I mean, I know you can get deeper into it, but I'm just telling you, this is God-given. This is proven research. Get into the Gallup Clifton Strengths. Here we go. Some James Clear quotes. Every action you take, and I didn't mean to make you feel bad, whoever that was. Look, there's the includer in me.
Very good.
Have fun with Enneagram. Girl, I have spent much time laughing about it and having fun with my people about Enneagram. So it is fun. But I think
we are unoffendable, remember?
Okay, yes, unoffendable. There you go. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you wish to become. No single instance will transform your beliefs. Remember? Not one time. But as the votes build up, as you keep believing, so does the evidence of your new identity. That's James Clear. And then this is an interesting one. The more pride you have in a particular aspect of your identity, the more motivated you will be to maintain the habits associated with it. Think about that. If you are proud of your hair, people spend time on their hair. If people are proud of their muscles, they spend time in the gym, right? If people are proud of their clean house, they make sure it stays clean. The things that you are proud of, you maintain. So these gifts, all those things as kind of first thoughts, about the Clifton Strengths, fall in love with them, spend more time with them, be proud of them. Once I identified who I was proud of that combo of learner, activator, achiever, right? Belief and includer. And now the 6 through 10, I am proud. And so the book is called Atomic Habits. Okay, the very last quote, you guys. Oh my gosh. So In the Magic of Believing, written in 1948, read by Mary Kay Ash, just emphasizing again. He quotes, of course, he's got to quote people from before him. Well, one of the people he keeps quoting is this guy named Marcus Aurelius Antonius. I'm like, hello, name. So Marcus Aurelius Antonius was a Roman emperor, one of the 5th of the 5 great emperors. I think 161 was either when he was born or died. I don't know. But hello, the year 100 and something. That's 2,000 years ago, okay? This is a hefty quote, but this is the end. So here we go. A man's true greatness lies in the consciousness of an honest purpose in life, founded in a just estimate of himself. This is what we just talked about, the just estimate of who you are. And everything else on frequent self-examinations. Did we just not talk about frequent self-examinations? And a steady obedience to the rule which he knows to be right. Steadily obeying the rule which you know to be right, the rule of who you are, who you be, right? Here's the end. Without troubling himself about what others may think or say, or whether they do or do not do what you think, say, or do. That's you being you. I'm done. There you go.
You're the best. You're a gifted and talented lover of the Lord, of your family, and of your career. Respectful of your leadership, always being so grateful for Mary and for me and Tammy and Susan. And last night, Susan's son and daughter-in-law took the Clifton Strengths test. We did that together. And then Susan, she showed me on her, she's got this right here beside where she works every day, her strengths, her balcony, and her basement.
Yes.
So she's dug deeper and deeper as you have. And for me, I only ever had my top 5. I didn't know I had bought the other ones, Gina, but I unlocked them all last night and studied them because I'm not the deeper diver. So I got the top 5 and thought, awesome. But now I understand more of when I'm in the balcony or the basement, because it's good to know the top and the bottom. And so I just was going to remember fascination or frustration.
Yes.
Kathy Rasmussen taught us with everything, basement or balcony. And DNA, do not argue with your creator. Your strengths are your strengths, unique to you. And in the book of Mark, did you know the word believe appears there more than any book in the Bible? And the way I know that is at career conference one year, I was in the top 3 and I was working on my talk, with, of course, right before, so all night. And that the name of that conference was Believe. So I looked in my concordance in the Bible, as I always prepare a speech, and I read all the scripture of Believe. And if you look in your concordance, it says Mark, 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 Mark. Believe is all over Mark. So just a little bit more thoughts to your research here. So
that's awesome.
For those new consultants that didn't know what she meant about the toothbrush, every day for 365 days, I said with my toothbrush in the bathroom mirror, Cindy Williams, are you ready for the most exciting night of your life? Because that's what Mary Kay Ash said when she opened seminar, and when she passed, that honor was given to the #1 national. And we had never, ever been #1, nor had we ever any hopes of being #1. But because I said it morning and night and put those waves into the atmosphere, somehow by God's grace and our grit, we were #1. And now we've continued on with that for 3 consecutive years, and we will finish this year. So I love you and I appreciate you. So our moderators, if you want to unmute and share thoughts. I couldn't read the chat. I'm so intense. I'm all into learning from you. And so if there were questions, comments for Gina, just unmute yourself and share your nuggets, maybe like 5 of you.
Hi, Gina. This is Gretchen. I just wanted to tell you that I really felt you when you said, you spoke about how your son was not going to be on medicine for the rest of his life. I remember when my oldest daughter, she was 3 and she had a febrile seizure. I had never knew what that was. And so then we brought her to the hospital, or she was brought to the hospital. Well, first of all, she died at the daycare that she was in. The lady didn't know what was going on. She freaked out and she suffocated on her milk that she was drinking. And the first police officer that got there, he brought her back, thank God. And so they rushed her to the hospital. And when I got there, she was just shaking all over. And the doctor told me that it would be no problem. You know, some people just have 1, it's okay. Some people even have 2. He said, but if she has more than 2, she will probably be on medicine for the rest of her life. Well, I can't even count how many she had. And they kept telling me, well, you know, we're going to do these brain waves. So they put all the little brain things on her little head, and they scanned it and said her brain was fine, but they say still she's probably going to be on medicine for the rest of her life. And in my knowing, like you, I'm saying, the devil is a liar. You are a liar. My baby is not going to be on medicine for the rest of her life. And through it all, you know, today she is not on medicine, praise God, but to God be the glory. But I knew in my knowing she was not going to be on that medicine for the rest of her life.
Right. And you know, that's your story. Oh my gosh. It's just amazing. Amazing. And you know what though? It's interesting because even as you were sharing that, I thought, that's funny. he is on medicines and he will be on medicines for the rest of his life. It's complex, but he goes, and in when you were saying that, I thought, that's interesting, Gina, because I was believing on that other one. I'm like,
that one steroid.
no. But on the other one, I'm like, okay, he'll be on that one. And who knows why? Who knows why? And maybe that could be the power of God, the Holy Spirit, going, I don't want him on that one. For whatever reason, the Holy Spirit might know. The same thing for you. You are adamant about all of them. And that's why we have to be careful not to judge, because when someone is knowing and believing their journey and their story, we don't know. We don't know any of that. You know, when I was getting ready for this, I thought about one of my sales director friends who beat cancer. She didn't do anything. She didn't do chemo. She didn't do medicine. And her world, the people around her were like, you're crazy. You've got to do, how can you not do your part? Her knowing and believing were so strong. She's a walking miracle. But I look back and I'm like, that's not for everyone, because her believing was knowing. It wasn't like a good thought. And I hope it was a knowing. But we can get to that place of knowing too. But as we practice belief and we pray and we discern and we receive where the Holy Spirit moves us, where he wants us to go, we just have to be open. So what a beautiful story, Gretchen.
I think it was the same steroid that you were fighting not to have your son on, because I did the research like you did, and I said, well, if they're on this for so many years, they can't, serve the military and all of that. And in the end, she wound up going into the military. And so if she was on that medicine, she would never have had that opportunity.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing.
We love you, Gretchen.
Love you too.
Anybody else?
Hi, Cindy. Hi, Gina. It's Vicki Miner. Gina, I just love when you teach. You are just absolutely amazing, and you just filled us with so much knowledge and power today. I'm working very diligently to go into DIQ on September 1st, and this just fueled my fire. So thank you so much, Gina, for sharing with us. We just love you.
Aw, you're welcome. Yes, keep throwing the fuel on that fire. Focus it. I love it. You'll do it. You'll do it. Believe in your skills and your strengths are your strategy.
I am, whatever it takes.
And you chase it down to the finish line. We learn to be finishers. Mary taught us about that too. You got to finish it. You don't do your best sometimes. You do whatever it takes. There's people everywhere, you guys. And how many people do you wish would listen to what we do on Super Saturdays? Well, all you have to do is just include them. I even had one consultant, I think it was Ricky, ask if a guest could be on today. Anybody can join us. We're like the church. All are welcome at the table. You can share this Zoom with anyone. Just tell them to be courteous, either look cute or shut out their video and mute. So a couple more comments to thank Gina. I think it's important that we learn to step up and be brave to communicate either something we gained or appreciation.
Gina, it's Priscilla. I really love that you reminded us that the insights are, even if it's the same word, is different. Because when we first did it, I had some consultants and I was the top of one, they were at the bottom 5, whatever. And we read, I'm like, well, that's awesome. So we all have the same stuff. But when we read them, I was like, holy moly smokes.
Yeah.
They're not the same. So thank you for reminding us of that, because I don't want anybody to take it and then share with their friends like, blah, blah, blah. So what? No, you have to like read those insights, because they are like, they're really good. It's like, you know me? How do you know me? So good. So thank you for sharing that and reminding us of that.
Aw, you're welcome. Love you.
Thank you, Gina. This is Maria. You know, the fact that I knew you were going to teach this, I actually went and took the test yesterday too. So I still have to learn more about it and what it actually means. But, you know, just how science and God works together, it means so much. And I remember, this is just an example too, where people will speak or you read something that's negative. So years ago, I had panic attacks like crazy living in Sri Lanka. And terrorist bombings blowing off and my kids being exposed to disease that killed other children that I read about daily in newspapers. And people said, and I heard, well, once you have a panic attack, you're going to have them for the rest of your life. And I was like, no, I am not going to suffer anxiety and panic attacks for the rest of my life. But it was a process, and it was learning to take those thoughts captive. I wasn't even aware that a thought was there before the fear attacked me.
Mm.
And that was so powerful. And I love to share that now and then, because it can give women hope. You don't have to suffer. You don't have to necessarily be on medication. Maybe for a time you do while you take charge. But God has created means for us to live victoriously and to not suffer from that. So, you know, just finding how God has already established this, and man is putting words to it and helping us understand it. And that's what you did today. So thank you so much. And by the way, your eyes are amazing. I sat there the whole time and just looked at your eyes. I was like, what? They're so beautiful.
Oh my gosh. Well, one, Maria, I love you so much. The thought, when you just said the thought happened, but anyway, had the fear happened when you didn't even realize the thought was happening first. Like, that is so huge. The eyes, I will tell you guys, this is my world. I was so getting ready. I looked at the clock and it was 10:35. I still have pajamas and morning hair and face. I'm like, oh my gosh, you learn to get ready fast. So this is like 10-minute hair and face. But you know what? I also was getting ready because I see all your beautiful suits. Cindy has her national suit, and Maria and Susan, I mean, like, looking gorgeous. I put this shirt on, and then I was like, oh, I'm director, I got to show, you know, like, I'm proud of this $500,000 bar, blah, 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 you know, like, represent. And I put my suit on, and I thought, for today's topic, I'm going to take this off. And the reason, it was a symbolism, it was an empowerment for me. I wanted to put this regular shirt on because it's in the regular day-to-day at my house, wearing regular clothes. That's where the belief in Envision happens, not because there's a suit on me, right? I like that. So this outfit was intentional. So anyway.
Raw and real. That's good to even share, Gina. That's common sense, wisdom, and discernment. Suiting up to show up based on the audience. I remember when I lived in Bandera, I would wear on purpose a flannel shirt and blue jeans to go out and talk to the cowgirl that I had met in the grocery store, because I wanted to have it's just common sense, and your vulnerability, not to just be suited up, but also our desire to honor and represent the authority of the position. It's both represented, but that's called wisdom. And you choosing on your own, you didn't ask me, you didn't get a vote. You're the teacher, the leader today. You made that decision. It's awesome. Anybody else? I've got a big announcement. Yeah.
Well, before that, I've got a real quick affirm my mama. So thank you, Jean and Beck. You did such a good job today. You're always such a good teacher and trainer. But know that you know your people, know who you are assigned to, everybody, and what their strengths are and what their love language is. And Gina's is words of affirmation. So Gina, Beck, you are the bestest teacher, the bestest learner. And I'm so proud that you're my Mary Kay mama.
Yeah.
I always learn more from you than others. And I know everybody else was just eating this up today.
Thank you, Corby. We love you. And thank you for always being so present. Miss Go Give, always there to serve and lead. Okay, you ready for a big announcement? Ready? We, in the month of August, we invited elite team leaders and above to join us for our Director's Day. We gather as sales directors every Wednesday, 10 a.m. Central Time. We've done that for a long time. But we decided we wanted to expose our top consultants to what it's like to think really as an independent sales director, as the leader of leaders. And so we've done that for August, but now that's come to an end. So now what we've decided to do, starting next Wednesday, so the first Wednesday of September, everyone that's a team leader or above, 5 active or above, is welcome to join us for this one in the month of September, the first one. And then for the rest of the month, it's just sales directors, okay? So we've exposed our elites in August. We will expose our team leaders and above. So you have until the night before we go live on that Wednesday morning, probably September 3rd. I'm not looking at a calendar. I have one right here. It's the first Wednesday of September. All our team leaders, and they're not going to know that, directors, unless they're on this call right now. And so, yeah, it's the 2nd, September the 2nd, 10 a.m. It's on the honor system. I don't have a password. I don't have a code. I use the same Zoom link, and I trust you're only going to be on it if you've earned it. You are all adult, mature, honest, loyal, women of integrity and wisdom. So directors, tell your team leaders, consultants, get excited, get your Fab Five, baby, and join us for this type of the leaders of the leaders gathering to learn. And as Susan reminded us on our call this last Wednesday, I have 40 weeks left, 40 Wednesdays left with you until we get to seminar 2021, my final seminar. We are going to storm the stage. We are going to break records. And I know that that's not coming from me. It's a knowing in my spirit, God-given and God-driven, because we are Mary Kay Ashes. We are the ones that we want to rise up and be the energy givers, be the teachers, be the leaders, because we have always done it the Mary Kay way. And it is not only, it's vital to the future of this company that the leadership stays grounded in God, family, career, living and working by the golden rule, that we are unshakable in our knowing what our founder knew and how she knew that based on her love of Jesus and her reading The Power of Positive Thinking, Norman Vincent Peale, The Magic of Believing. And I love, Gina, you've taken us back to the future of where this started. And I can't wait to get the book. And I love that you're audio and reading at the same time, because I like to highlight and underline, but I also like to listen. And a healthy habit is just when you walk, get you a set of earbuds, they're wireless, and you can do anything while you're listening and pouring into your brain, and be unapologetic that you are Pac-Man for gaining wisdom. Come on, the world will look at you and like, but are you kidding me? Don't take advice from anybody you wouldn't trade places with. This business is super simple. And don't think COVID is going to stop you from connecting. I ran into Dillard's for a hot minute yesterday. And the girl that waited on me, she was amazing. Her name was Esther, and she took me to find exactly what I was looking for. It just took a few minutes. And I said to her, Esther, you are uncommon. She had on a mask, I had on a mask, but she was going out of her way to serve. And I started asking her questions. She's worked there for a year. Her husband's retired Navy. They settled here. She's from California. She doesn't really know anybody. I learned everything about her. And I said, yeah, I would be so honored to get to know you better, Esther, and to share my products with you. I'm with Mary Kay. And I asked her, she only washes her face with Dove soap. She doesn't use skincare, but she buys a high-end moisturizer because her face is really oily. And she said, plus I'm not even wearing makeup with these dumb masks. But I dug deep enough to know what she would probably like. Even I'm just giving you an example of they're everywhere. Care enough to connect. Got her information. So would you rather have a virtual or a real appointment? Now we say that. I never said that before. She says, I'm here all the time. I think a virtual would be great. I said, how old are your children? And are they girls or boys? I kept digging deeper. Her daughter's 15. I said, well, maybe she'd like to join you. Would you like to have some samples of that, of our skincare to try? So when we do the virtual, I'm just keeping going. I just don't know how to not care enough to share about the good news or about the good news, okay? So even through COVID, if you're going to the grocery store, be prepared with a little gift, with a business card, but mostly with your knowing that you have something to offer that's going to benefit them through this product and the career. And the last thing I said to her was, Esther, because she was so hot, they required her to wear long sleeves. She had on a tank top underneath, but this long sleeve, and she was so hot. That mask on, not be able to take it off, in those long sleeves, she was so miserable, and I could tell it. And I said, why don't you take off that jacket? She said, well, we're not allowed to. And I looked at her and I said, Esther, when I tell you more about the product, I want you to listen to what I have to share more about the business, because you don't have to be stuck here in Dillard's. You're sharp. You're a servant leader. You're exactly who I'd swim the ocean to work with. I don't know if in your wildest dreams you'd ever consider it, but I'm going to tell you more. And she lit up like a Christmas tree. What happens with it, I don't know. But I'm just saying, be passionate, not pushy. Attract, don't attack. Be confident in your knowing that Mary Kay is the best product and the best business opportunity in the world. Then you go about your merry way, suiting up and showing up and leading by example. And you too will be a $1 million director like Susan Moore, driving a pink caddy like Gina Beck, or leading one of the top 4 teams in the whole dang world like the Victory family. Come on, you guys. Miracles really do happen. So thank you, Gina, with all of our hearts. We appreciate you. And we know this was just the tip of the iceberg. of what's available, but now it's up to us to go dig deeper, go beyond our top 5 like I did last night, and learn more about ourselves and about our team so that we can rise up to all that God has called us to be. I will post this recording in the Director Voxer, and I share all of this on my website. It's just the web host is slow. I can't load it myself. But CindyWilliamsNSD.com, user, and then the password is lowercase the word victory to get into everything. And then Char's been helping me upload things to a YouTube channel, YouTube at Cindy Williams NSD, I think. That one I don't know all the time, but you can find it. And there's other, we're trying to put all this stuff in a place where people have access to it easily so that we are leaving our fingerprints all over this Mary Kay world. So God bless you. Thank you for dialing in. I'll see you, team leaders and above, Wednesday at 10 a.m. Central Time, right here at this Zoom.